milk it for all it's got. Keep the nose down. And let it zoom up now. And just do a gradual right turn. Nice and smooth. That was more exciting than it needed to be. Yep. Now you see why you have that extra energy going off.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive.
I'm in Alaska visiting my buddy Chris from the online ground school, Instagram, and YouTube channel Angle of Attack, and he's taking 2 weeks to give me the grand tour of Alaska. In part 1, I arrived in the 49th state, was given a tour of the busiest seaplane base in the world, and then we flew up to Talkeetna to wander around and explore the town. In part 2, Chris and I depart Anchorage International Airport around 11 p.m. and we head down to Homer in complete daylight the entire time, even at midnight, and the sights we saw were spectacular. In part 3, we departed Homer toward Quartz Creek to be dropped off so we can go camp with Chris's family. Meanwhile, Daniel is going to take the airplane back to Homer so he can use it while we're gone. Welcome to part 4. Daniel has brought the airplane back to Quartz Creek for us and is going camping with his family now, so it'll just be Chris and I departing out of Quartz Creek in the airplane. As with all other aspects in life, it's good to be humbled every now and then as a pilot. The humbling experiences tend to be the most educational for us. Leading up to this takeoff out of Quartz Creek, I felt good about how I'd handle it. I thought to myself, I've done plenty of short and soft field takeoffs and landings before, and given that this is a relatively long runway for a 172, it shouldn't be too hard. And I'm sure instructor Chris over there was thinking that he's about to show this Flatlander pilot what's up. And he was right. There were a few things that Chris and I both talked about after the flight that made this takeoff more exciting than it really needed to be, and they all had to do with my technique, or the lack thereof, and we'll talk about all that stuff at the end of the video. But first, before we head back to the airplane, we're all going on a hike up to Russian River Falls, about 2.5 miles, to behold its majesty. Welcome to part 4.
Got my bear spray. Here we are.
Here we are. We've gone, let's see.
Josh has got his fancy new JipWiz GPS thing, GPM.
2.1 miles is what we've gone.
Okay, we're almost there.
Yeah, 2.3 is to the waterfall, I think. It said 2.3.
That's what it said.
Trailhead.
But they don't have a GPS like we do. So we'll see if it's real.
All right, we are back at the Quartz Creek airstrip, the gravel strip here. Absolutely beautiful place. The runway goes back into the trees there. We've got 2423 uniform. Daniel came back and dropped the airplane off for us, and he's gonna go off and do some things with his family. And we're getting ready to fire up the airplane and head back to Homer. What do you think, Chris?
I think it's gonna be good. We'll have to get a look at the weather, how it looks getting around the corner. Daniel said it's a little bumpy coming in.
Yeah.
So we'll be cognizant of that too. You'll see a little bit of a different takeoff technique that I'll talk to Josh about on camera. Should be good. We get these low ceiling days like this, 3,000 to 4,000 feet, and we have some options to deal with it. But looking pretty good. It's about what it was like when we came in.
Do a soft field technique out of here, I assume. Mm-hmm. And then we should be good to go. This is going to be totally a first for me. Many different many techniques that I've learned before in training, but I'm going to apply them all right here.
Yep.
In a practical sense. So
this ought to be good. The real deal.
That's right, real deal. Let's go.
All right, start up, seat back, tracks, avionics off, autopilot off, carb heat off, mixture full rich, throttle slight, prime. We did that. Brake set, prop clear, and master on, beacon on, max start, low pressure.
Check 1 2 check.
Cooper landing traffic, Skyhawk 2423 uniform. We're going to be back taxi, runway 22, Cooper landing. Okay, so let's talk about the takeoff technique.
Yep.
So generally when you do your soft field takeoff, you're getting it off as soon as you can, you're accelerating ground effect. We talked about that from the P-hack the other day, of being as close as you can because it makes a big difference. These wheels are sticky, so making sure your technique is good enough. Too much angle attack is not good. We got to get it just right to get the nose wheel off, and you'll feel that and then be on the pedals. But what we're going to do is when we're in ground effect, we're going to create a lot of extra energy, and we want to zoom above the trees. So I want to be like 85, 90 before we do that.
Okay.
Then if there's any wind shear up there and we have a problem, a reduction in performance, then we can easily handle that and be okay.
Cool. All right, so we're all set up.
Yes,
ready
sir.
to go. Here comes the end of the runway, so I'm going to go to this side.
Sounds good.
Carry it around. You want to go ahead and announce that we're taking off?
Quartz Creek, 2423 uniform, taking runway 22 departure, and we will be departing to the west. Yep, brakes released, let's do it.
Alright.
Get that nose wheel off. Right about there you go.
There's 40, airspeed's up.
And yep, milk it for all it's got. Keep the nose down. And let it zoom up now. And just do a gradual right turn. Nice and smooth. That was more exciting than it needed to be. Now you see why you have that extra energy going off. It's intimidating, isn't it?
It's very intimidating, absolutely.
That's why I was trying to be that little voice on your shoulder that says, keep the nose down.
Alright, flaps up.
What a lot of bush pilots do, and I'm not necessarily of this mindset, but they aim for the top of the trees, because then they know they have the energy to get out of it.
Right.
And the faster you climb, better. So let's get that at 80 and get out of here.
Oh, you mean the better climb?
Yeah,
right?
Now we want to go in the VY and start climbing out of here.
Okay.
And you can just follow the river, I think. Well, good job.
Oh, thank you. I didn't feel as good about that one.
Maybe could have got the nose off a little bit sooner, because that nozzle, because it's so big, it's really sticky.
Yeah.
So kind of cranking on it first to get the angle of attack up, get the nozzle off, and then just kind of fly that nose off. On yours, I mean, the nose comes up right away.
Pretty much,
you don't have to do much. But on this thing, there's a very small difference between the nozzle being off and the tail being clear.
Right.
That's why you got to be on your toes around here.
Right.
Have your techniques down, because that's a really good example of someone doing an FAA procedure. accelerating ground effect, getting to 80, and climbing out at VY, or climbing out at VX for the 50-foot obstacle. I don't think that would have worked. That's just, I don't know how you feel about it, but my opinion is it'd be a lot closer than that. Because we were getting some wind spilling over the trees and like holding us down.
It was, yeah.
And we would just be mushing into the trees if we would have done something else.
Well, that definitely showed me that, you know, I just recently practiced soft field technique on a grass runway. And
right, I saw that video.
Beat up the pattern, you know.
Right.
So I think I had it down there. Right there showed me I did not. And I think like halfway through that takeoff roll, I kind of forgot to, I was focusing more on the acceleration, and I kind of forgot that, oh, I need to get that nose up and get it, you know, get a higher angle of attack, get the airplane off the ground so we can accelerate with less drag and ground effect.
Yep. That's why I showed that to you in the P-hack, where it says that the reduction is 50% at 1/8 the distance of the wingspan. So, you know, a couple feet makes a huge difference.
Right.
If you're at 5 or 10 feet above the runway, it feels like you're right above the runway, but you're not. And you basically have no ground effect there.
Right.
Cooper landing area traffic, Skyhawk 2423 uniform, 3,000 feet westbound. We'll be southbound near Skilak Lake toward Homer.
Please do not start your takeoff roll in the closed portion of the runway.
Someone did it.
Taxiways Charlie and Delta
They weren't
closed.
saying that before.
Runway 422 markings are non-standard. Runway 422 VASI lights out of service. And runway 4 approach lighting system and localizer DME all out of service.
Wow.
Air mats are in effect for icing and cloud and mountain obscuration. Pilot weather reports are appreciated. Contact Homer Radio on 123.6 for traffic advisories. Advise on initial contact, you have November.
Yeah, someone definitely tried to take off on the runway. Homer Radio, Skyhawk 2423 uniform. We are 10 miles out. We're going to plan straight in, runway 22, and we do have November.
Homer 2423 uniform, Homer Radio. Traffic is a state maintenance vehicle doing a runway inspection. And you said you're 10 miles out. From which direction?
Yeah, we're at the head of the bay, almost a stone step, 23 uniform.
Not too far past him. That's kind of flat. Something I might want to do while we're here, if we get, you know, another day like this or something, that we don't necessarily want to leave town, it might be good for us to come out here and just beat up the pattern.
Yeah, man.
I'd like to get better at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both the soft field and the short field, and Quartz Creek, that's both. That was a short field and it was a soft field.
Yep, exactly.
All right, we're back in Homer. That was a cool little camping trip, right?
Yes.
There were a lot of things that didn't go right. Coming back, that was a pretty uneventful flight, but tell me about that takeoff.
So
I think I know what I did wrong, but I want to see if we agree.
Well, you tell me first.
Yeah, you go
You first.
You first.
You.
You.
Well, I was telling you that the nose wheel is pretty sticky. I call it sticky. Lots of friction.
Because it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of the reason?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, big old nose wheel. So to get that off, you reduce the friction, which is the whole idea of a soft field, to get that off, protect the nose wheel, which in this case we actually kind of don't need to protect the nose wheel. But yeah, I mean, that was the issue, is just that little bit of extra friction. We took off with a little bit of a tailwind in favor for the reduced terrain and trees at the other end. So I'm fine with that part of the decision. But those little technique differences can give you extra comfort. So we still had plenty of energy. We were at like 85 miles per hour by the time we got to the end of the runway. We could have pulled up even into a VX sort of climb and got even more out of it, but I just told you to kind of aim for the tops of the trees. And in the last few seconds there, you see everything kind of change, and then it felt okay. But you know, you're 2/3 down the runway and you're still below the tree level, and it gets pretty freaky if you don't really think things through. So it's all about just having that extra energy and getting above the trees. And you and I are going to talk more about that in the next however many days while you're here. And I can share a little bit more, show you some different airports. We can go through that. When you're doing this sort of stuff, knowing how all those variables stack against you is really important. So, you know, I did a takeoff here across the bay a while ago. We'll go over to Soldovia. Your viewers will see that. And it kind of scared me. Like, I'm like, that was way too close. I crunched the numbers, and there was just more going on than what the book said and what the windsock said and everything else. So it was kind of a two-trip thing. I was with my wife when it happened, and we basically barely cleared the trees, and it just wasn't comfortable. And so I went back to pick up another load thinking, hey, I might stay the night or wait for the winds to die down. But I just stood by the side of the runway for 15 minutes, and I watched all the other airplanes leave, and I watched what was happening with the wind to them at certain stages, and then I came up with a modified plan. Just a couple little tweaks on my technique, just based on that specific airport on that day with that wind, and it made all the difference, and it was totally comfortable. So, I mean, that's the situation with yours too, is, yeah, it got a little uncomfortable there for a second. Still, I don't think it was unsafe or anything, but we reduced the margin of error down pretty far. So, you know, getting off as quickly as possible, getting that nose wheel up so there's not friction, accelerating very low in ground effect because you do accelerate quicker, and then being able to climb up faster is important. So a bunch of little variables kind of stack up to make it work.
I want to do a little bit more practice, kind of get better at the techniques and learn from a pro. Somebody, well, you do this all the time.
Yeah, someone that teaches it.
I think there were a lot of things that were also just distracting me on that takeoff. Like, I think we had a door pop or something.
And yep, milk it for all it's got. Keep the nose down.
I think we had a rock hit underneath the belly.
Yeah, and it kind of like distracted me for
kicked up a big rock,
a second, maybe a second and a half. And that was right about the time that you were saying, okay, nose up, nose up, nose up. I had to snap back into it because I'm just not used to being in that environment. So I want to at least maybe even just practice it here at home or like you said, Soldovia or something like that. Just get a little bit more practice with it. So anyways, we're going to wrap this one up, and it's very light outside and it's 8 p.m. So
he's going to sleep tonight. He doesn't get to edit.
I pulled an online the other night and edited part 1, and I'm not doing that again. He's not gonna let me. So we're gonna go clean up from this camping trip, put our gear away, and then go get some food and start offloading footage from the last 2 days. We'll call it good. We'll see you later. I think Chris nailed pretty much the entire list of things I could have done better on that takeoff. One thing he did mention off camera is that I left more than 100 feet of runway behind me when I turned around. I made my U-turn on the runway at the end markers, which is technically the beginning of the runway, but I could have taxied way further back and at least used that rough gravel area there to accelerate, then go full power. Considering all the items we mentioned, I think my overall technique needs some work, which will lead us into part 5, where we do some pattern work at Homer and then we cross the bay over to Soldovia. I've seen Chris fly into this 1,800 foot long village strip many times on his YouTube channel, so I'm super excited to give it a try myself. It's nothing short of challenging, and that'll be in part 5. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 5. I post videos on Aviation 101 every week. If you'd like to support the channel, you can head over to aviation101.com/store and shop merch and gear there. Until next time, I want you to stay happy, healthy, and current, and of course stay proficient, and we'll see you in part 5 where we drop this 172 into Soldovia, Alaska. Fly safe.